Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I hope everyone's doing great and enjoying their Friday evening wherever you guys are. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a show for all of you. And it's been hectic for us to arrange this podcast because we are in two different countries and the time difference is huge. But I humbly thankful to both of my panelists to take time out and joining us tonight, inshallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much. And our topic tonight is personal development and leadership. We're going to be talking about this topic from the perspective of Islam, inshallah ta'ala. I've got a huge thing to learn here because I work in HR, people who don't know already. And yeah, it's going to be a very exciting show for you guys, inshallah, as well. So let's welcome both of our panelists tonight. So first of all, I'm going to be inviting my brother, Osman May, and he is, mashallah, a founder of a coaching company as well. So I'm going to, before I say even any more, I'm going to let him talk, inshallah. So let's welcome him first. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you tonight?
Alhamdulillah, it's morning here in Australia. So good afternoon, good evening to you, but good morning to anyone who is joining in from Australia, this part of the world.
MashaAllah. That's what I was trying to explain to everyone. There's about, I think there's 11 hours difference where you are.
That's right. So yeah, thanks for arranging this podcast. As you said in the introduction, I know it is a challenge to manage the time zone difference and things like that. So Jazakumullahu khair.
MashaAllah. So I'm going to welcome our sister, and our sister is Nicole Hekma, inshallah. So let's invite her, and we'll be listening, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Wa alaikum assalam.
Very nice to see you again. Nice to be here. Very well, thank you. Again, it's morning here. I'm in a different part of Australia than brother, so it's a little bit early here, 6 o'clock in the morning, but great way to get the day started. So looking forward to this.
Subhanallah. And it's 10 p.m., nearly my bedtime. but it's Friday night, so I'm off tomorrow. So inshallah, I can sleep in tomorrow morning. So as I was just explaining, brother Osman has his own coaching company, academy, if I'm right to say that. So let me, I'll let you take over, brother Osman. So first of all, just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Before I say that, one of the audience is Naeem, if I say the name correctly. Yes, I'm excited about the final. I'm not a cricket fan, but I'm excited about the final. So inshallah, let's see who's going to win. Anyway, so yeah, my name is Osman, Osman Ma, and I run a coaching company called Marvelous Coaching. I come from a very mixed background. I've got a Chinese lineage, but I was born and bred in Burma or Myanmar, and I came to Australia many months ago. So I'm kind of half Aussie, Sister Nicole. Please accept at that. And yeah, like when I go to other country, they say my English accent is weird, and I say, like, of course, because I'm from Australia, down under. Look, I'm also a practicing Muslim, alhamdulillah. So that goes with the acronym ABCM, so Australian, Burmese, Chinese, and Muslims. A bit of a big mix. So I enjoyed that diversity right on. And professionally, I got an engineering background. And I started as an electrical engineer, then software developer, before becoming project manager and engineering manager. So spread across the whole business value chain from R&D all the way to manufacturing and marketing. Then throughout my management career, I developed the passion to help other people learn and grow. And then during pandemic, I left corporate world and started my own coaching practice. And that's where I pursue my passion of helping other people learn and grow. So alhamdulillah, I get to do what I like doing and find it very rewarding. And these days, I work with individual teams, company, and university to run coaching programs, workshops, and also engage in speaking engagement and podcasts like this to spread the message that leadership is not just about the position or title, but it is all about personal development and helping others. So that's a bit about me. Thank you.
So I understand that you help modern Muslim women to become more, should I say, assertive, and you give that confidence and authority. Is it correct to say that?
That's exactly. Yeah,
authority,
that's right. And I'll just give a bit of background.
So you actually give them those tools.
That's right. So I'll just give a bit of background similar to brother Osman, is that as you can probably see, I'm not Arab, so I'm a revert to Islam. It's nearly 20 years now, alhamdulillah. So I similarly have a very mixed background. My mother is Scottish and English. My father is Romanian. My husband is Egyptian. So we're quite a mixed family here. So it's it's good. And as I say, we're the true Australians, because the true Australian is from anywhere, any religion, any background, any whatever. We're all a bit of a big mix and melting pot, similar to the UK, I guess, which is really great. So I grew up in country Australia, and also in, I think, I grew up in a place called Christmas Island, which was a very mixed place, and that's where I got my first exposure to Islam when I was only very small. So it's interesting when you look back that you had all of these connections. So throughout my career, I've worked in banking and finance and consulting. And through that, I got to do a lot of leadership roles as well. And one of the things that I did notice when I was with one of the biggest banks in Australia and actually the world is that in that senior leadership group, there was one woman wearing hijab, and that was me. So I really started thinking about where are the other Muslim women, and so I started taking a big interest in, what are Muslim women wanting from their lives? Are they wanting the career? Are they wanting something else? And started really focusing on that. And my husband doesn't actually like me using the term modern Muslim woman, because he thinks that I'm trying to say that we can be, follow a different path. But actually what I'm trying to say is that no, actually through following everything that's in our tradition, through what's in the Quran and what's in the Sunnah, we can actually build ourselves up to be really, really amazing leaders through following the personal development. And we'll talk about the specific things as we go through this podcast, and leadership guides that are given to us through our books and through the guidance that we're given, is that we can actually raise up as Muslim women to be powerful and strong and authoritative and really wonderful examples to society, not by being modern and going through outside, but actually through showing what's in our religion. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I focus on coaching. I also have my own coaching business, and I focus on working with Muslim women to get that inner strength through our religion to be able to be successful in this world and for the hereafter.
Mashallah. Mashallah. For us, sister, our biggest example is Hazrat Khadija alayhi salam. She's a example for us Muslim sisters. So let's with few questions, inshallah. So I have a bunch of questions. So they're all going to be relating to prospects of personal development and leadership. So my first question is, I don't mind whoever want to go first. I'm absolutely fine with that. So what is personal leadership mean, guys?
Sister Navira, can you repeat the last few words? Yeah, so the last few words I missed that. You cut out a little.
What is personal leadership development means to you?
Yeah, thank you. Do you mind if I go first, Sister Nicole?
Okay.
Yeah, inshallah. I think I'll take a step back. To me, leadership come after personal development. So personal development probably is sort of an umbrella terms. In Islam, I believe, and I've learned, still learning, is that Islam take a holistic approach, right? So it's not just about religion, it's not just about life, and we don't separate those two either. And everything is integrated, and holistic view is exactly that. So the spiritual development, personal development, and financial development, your career development, from Islamic perspective, they all one and the same. We don't separate them, and that's what I believe in as well. So leadership is also part of this. It's all about that. And if you go way deep into this, you can become philosophical and talk about where we're heading with all this. From Islamic perspective, we're born not a sinner like other religion would believe. We're born with purest of state, and that's what we're going back to, right? So from Islamic perspective, the development, personal development, whether that's personal development, leadership development, career development, it is all about going back to that pure state that we're born in, and along the way overcoming the barriers and challenges that we face, and everyone faced that. And in Quran and Sunnah, it's been very clearly prescribed what it is. So we know all about different level of nerves, and nerves, the ones that's gonna come and pull us down to maintain that, the pure state that we're born in. So to me, it is really the struggle against nerves. In one of the hadiths, we learned that the biggest warrior is the one who fight against your own nerves, right? So to me, it is about that. It is about overcoming your nerves and going back to the original state. And inshallah, with that state, we go back to where we come from, and achieve a place in Jannah. So at the highest level, I would just put it out there that that's what we should be aiming at.
Mashallah, very well answered. Yes, you're so right to say that it's all about our nafs. If you can control that, I think you're the biggest achiever. That's what I feel like. I think that's my personal opinion too. So, sister, what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, very, very similar to brother. I mean, it tells us in Quran, it says, verily, we created man in the best stature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us as the best of creatures. He raised us above the other creations. And he gave us so much potential to do the things, to do amazing things. And I think, throughout history, if we look at both the Muslim civilization, but also things that have been achieved by people even without religion, human beings are incredible in what we're capable of. And if we focus on that with the best intention, not just to be the richest, to be the best, but to do that in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can be incredible. And I believe that Allah tells us that he's created us with that potential. So I think from a personal development perspective, that idea of that he's created us with the best stature, and for us to continue to try and put that into being, I think is absolutely fundamental to our religion. It's not about just going about every day doing the same thing, repeating the same thing. It's thinking about, we've been created in the best stature. How can I actually show that? And I think as well, it talks in hadith about that every person is a shepherd. Every prophet was a shepherd, literally, to sheep, or to wild, to livestock. But from a people, everyone is a shepherd of some sort, and that is like whether it's a ruler of a country who has that responsibility of leadership to the vast amount of people, whether it's a father, a man as the head of his household, or a woman teaching her children, but it's also as an individual being responsible for our own actions, which again goes into the the personal development and leadership. We are all shepherds or leaders to some extent, others different, to each other, but all of us have been given again that stature and that potential.
Mashallah. I mean, I think our Islam, our religion is so mashallah beautiful. It's a balanced religion, responsibility to both, men and women, and they both come with, both have different authorities and both have different responsibilities. It's all about, a balance, and Islam is one balance, inshallah. So we're grateful that we're born Muslim, mashallah. So and for you, sister, I think to be very I know we talked about this previously in my podcast. So I will say, yeah, welcome to Islam, sister. So mashallah, it's an amazing feeling. So I'll go to my second question, inshallah. So now, why is it important to implement in our day-to-day life? How do you feel we can implement this? Do you want to go, brother, first?
Yeah, sure. Why do we want to implement leadership in our daily lives? I think we can kind of lead on from what Sister Nicole said. Even though in Hadith it is specifically talking about prophets, every prophet is a shepherd, but I think it transcends and translated to us as well, because we all follow the great example of all our prophets, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in Quran, it's clearly prescribed to us that he's the best example, and that we should follow him. So the prophets are the great example of leadership, and one of the ways that they've exemplified leadership is through the shepherdhood, if you like. And that's a really great example. Like, if you think about it, it's a good metaphor, a good analogy. A shepherd, not only that actually look after, I don't know what you call in English, a group of sheep, but they take responsibility of their tribe, their group, their family, right? But at the same time, to be able to do that, you need to actually look after yourself as well. Right. If you're not in a good state, if you're not good in that stature that we've been talking about, how can you lead others? Right. Therefore, to me, it is absolutely crucial and important to be able to implement self-leadership in your own life before you even think about leading others, which is a must, as we already know. Everyone has that responsibility in their own little circles. I'm a father of three. I have that shepherdhood responsibility to my children. So no one's going to escape from this, unfortunately. Everyone is a leader in their own right. So how can you become a leader if you are not looking after yourself and implementing self-leadership in your own life? So that's why I think it is very important to implement leadership in your own life, and then help other people.
Mashallah, mashallah. Thank you. What is your take on this, sir?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Brother is saying there. It's, we have to, for me, I think we have to always be thinking of who we're an example to as well. Like, if we are, in the example of the hadith we use, where we're all a shepherd, that we have to work on ourselves so that we can, one, be in a situation to be healthy and financially available and whatever, to be that leader and to provide for our family or in the household or whatever. But we also just have to be continuing to be better so that we're serving as that example to others of what they can be. So I think it's a continual striving, and brother referred to before, against your nafs, against trying to fight against your ego and all of those kind of things. It's not just about you. I think one of the beautiful things about Islam, and every single day I learn more about Islam and just love it so much, it's that it's always not just based on our own individual development. It's based on what does that do for the community, what does that do for our family, what does it do for the ummah. So I think, as well as so for example, for myself, my family joke that I'm addicted to personal development, because I'm always reading, I'm always trying to find different ways to do things. But it's not, it could be that I just want to learn because I want to be knowledgeable, but there's a difference between that kind of learning and that kind of personal development, and learning because I want to be better, to help other people as well, to help those around me, either to be as an example or to be showing as a leader, this is the kind of thing that we should be doing. And I think that that's just, it's that side, not so much the, individual learning or the individual success, that is really important. However, I can't be that example unless I have that individual success. So it does really go hand in hand as well, that you're learning for yourself, but for the benefit of others. And I think that that's, again, to me, that's just a critical part of it. And it's a really motivating part of it as well. I feel like if you're doing things not just for yourself, but for others, one, you get a better feeling out of it, but you're also, more driven. There might be some days when you wake up and you think, oh, I don't feel like doing this. And then you're like, okay, but it's not just me. I have to keep going, and I have to do this for others as well. And I think that's a really critical part of it.
Definitely. So it's more like a learning curve for others. You are, I feel, if I'm better, if I'm equipped with knowledge, then only I can teach others, I think. So, mashallah. Thank you, sister. Yes. So how does personal development leadership work in modern life? If I go with you first, sister.
How does it work in modern life? So I'm going to take a view of particularly living in a Western country and being a woman wearing hijab. And I'm going to say that, when I go out, I remember clearly an example where, and it's, when my children were very young, they're a little bit older now, but when they were very young, and we go to the shops, and I would be there as a Muslim woman with my children, and there would be someone else who was non-Muslim with their children, and their children might be being particularly naughty, and mine were being maybe not as well behaved as they could be, but not as naughty as these other kids. But the attention would be on me. And that's not fair, but that's a reality. And I think that comes back to all of us when we're representing our religion, is that we have to be the best that we can be, because particularly if you're someone who, looks a little bit different from where you are, but even in Muslim countries as well, if we are representing ourselves, I mean, one of the reasons that we are asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to wear hijab as a woman, for example, is to be identified as Muslim. And so when we are wearing the clothing of Muslims, and we're identifiable, we have to be showing the best of behavior. To me, it's important to me, for me, for my children, to be showing the best of behavior, but also in a workplace environment, in a community environment, to be showing that learning, to be helping to rise, not just myself, but if I can help through my coaching other women to, and it might not even be that they're becoming any better at all, but they might have confidence, and that confidence then exudes outwards, and then they have this presence, which is a beautiful thing. My ultimate objective is to help women so that people can look at people and say, I want what they have in terms of their confidence, in terms of their inner serenity. And I think we mentioned Sister Navira when when with my journey to Islam, one of the things that attracted me to Islam was actually that inner confidence and inner serenity and beauty, and me looking at other Muslim people as I was traveling and saying, what have they got? Because I want it. And I think that's such an important part of our personal development, so that we can have that confidence and authority, so that people are looking at us and saying, what has she got? Because I want it.
I totally agree with you, sister. Ever since I have started doing my hijab, mashallah, so I feel more confident in the sense that yes, I hold the authority. I don't know if you feel that way too. And alhamdulillah, I feel much better where I'm already. I'm not drawn to all these men out there who are like just, you know. So yeah, mashallah, I do feel like confident in a sense, I would say. So what is your take on this, brother?
This is a great question. It goes to the core of what I do. As Sister Nicole was saying, it's about how you show up, in a workplace, in public forum, and how do you share the great things about the beautiful religion of us, right, Islam. And my hats off to you guys, because even before you show up, you already show up. Like Sister Nicole said, you go into any place with your hijab, you're already there. If you look at me, I don't sound like an Arab. I don't look like an Arab. I don't have mustache. How would anyone know that I'm a Muslim? So, in a way, like during those years that we were going through, big wave of Islamophobia, I was the lucky one. But I still have my own experience, which I could share another time. But anyway, the reason I'm saying is that to me, um, how what is the reality of practicing Islam and also the leadership? It's about overcoming barriers, right? That's how I see it, and that's what I do. Instead of actually teaching leadership, which I do that as well, but my passion and my focus more on the becoming of leaders, the transition. And I take a lot of inspiration and a good example out of Sirah, out of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam life. And if you actually look at it, you divide it into three, right? Like before he got the revelation, before he became prophet, he was living a normal life, and you can see a lot of example in terms of how he was dealing with the society that he was in, and we all know that society is called Jahiliya, a lot of mess, a lot of problems, a lot of social issue, and he was living through that, and overcoming those barriers that he faced. Even before receiving the revelation, he knew what was wrong. He had that sense, and we all do. And go back to the beginning where we were talking about, we all born in the fitra, in the purest of state, as I call it. So you have that sense of what is right and what is wrong morally, without even looking at Quran or Sunnah or anything. Like that's what we are created, right? We are created as the best out of all being. Then you have the second life, part of Prophet's life when he became prophet. In the first years in Mecca, subhanallah, the persecution against him, and the torture against him, all of these things are barriers for him to overcome to become the greatest prophet of all time. Right. And then the next part that I call it, the last part of his life, when he migrated to Medina and then started the nation of Islam, the Society of Islam. He still faced a lot of challenges, even in his daily lives. There are social issues that he had to deal with around his wife and many others. So if you look at it that way, life is a test, and we all know that. And I translated that to kind of overcoming barriers that you face. right? And that's a reality even in these days. Like, you wear hijab and go to work, and you perceive differently. Even when I reveal that I'm a Muslim, I'm a practicing Muslim, uh, people react, oh, okay, what does that mean? What does it mean to your coaching? What does it mean to this and that? So you will face these barriers, and that's a reality. And Islam equipped with many, many tools and frameworks for you to overcome them. So I think that is the daily practice of Islam and also leadership.
MashaAllah. So my next question would be, what 3 key strategies would you implement in your work and your personal life? So if you could answer first, brother.
Inshallah. So I just follow on from what I said. In my coaching, I use that model that I taken inspiration out of and taken example from Sirah. You divide it into 3 part of his life. As I said, the first part is before he became prophet, and second part is when he was in Mecca, started preaching Islam and sharing the beautiful message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the last part where he's actualized his prophethood and became the chief of his tribe, right? So using that sort of strategy, what I say is that to become a leader, you kind of have to go through 3 phases. The first phase is the foundation phase, and the second is transformation phase, or transition phase, and the third is the actualization phase. So if you look at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam phases, then in the first phase, he was being prepared to become the greatest prophet of all time. We know that his other names are, around the trustworthiness and, truthfulness and things like that. Those are the traits that you need, regardless of where you practice your leadership, whether at home or at work or in business. You need to be truthful, like you need to be sincere. Those things are the fundamental values of leadership. So you need to establish them and build the foundation first, right? So you need to understand what values you're going to uphold and what principle you're going to follow uh, during those foundational period. Then you start to transition into leadership. That's where you have to face a lot of challenges and try to uphold those values and principle, right? That's what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam exemplified during his years in Mecca when he was preaching Islam. And lastly, when you actualize your leadership, when you are already a leader of your own tribe, a chief of your own tribe, you're still going to face a lot of those barriers and challenges around motivating and inspiring other people. And how would you do that? Look at example in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam life. So I think it's a little bit generic the way I describe it, but in essence, what I'm saying is that you got to face them out, and the way you want to do that is prepare, transform, and actualize.
Definitely, mashallah, he is a prime example for all of us, not just for Muslim, for the whole mankind. So yeah, what is your take on this, sister?
Yeah, very, very similar to brother, actually. And when you were saying about, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, being one of the great examples of course, for Muslims, he is. But I was just remembering there was a book that was written not too long ago where Prophet Muhammad was by a non-Muslim person, and he was actually named as being the most influential person in history, because not just because of the religious part of it, but also in terms of his role as a leader and in militarily and a whole lot of things. So he's such a big example, and if people would just look at even taking the religion out of his life, looking at the examples that he set in so many areas, subhanallah, we've just been given the most amazing example as our prophet, and I'm so grateful and humble for that. But I think for me, the first thing is about knowledge. I'm a learner anyway. I love to constantly learn, and I like to think that inshallah, right up until the end, I'll have the capability to keep on learning about things. But I think that that's really important. To understand who we are. And what I really work through with my clients is understanding, who are you and where are you in your journey? Because sometimes we go along in our lives and we think we know all of this stuff, but if we stop and really try to look at things around us and read and educate, we realize that maybe there's sort of some places in our lives or some aspects of our lives that we're really running on habit rather than actually being knowledgeable in that area. So it's about understanding where our knowledge is, understanding what are the things that we need to work on so that we can really focus in on those things. Or it might be that, maybe when we're praying, we're saying the same surahs over and over again, and we think, actually, I need to expand and I want to learn more. And as I'm learning those surahs, I want to learn about what they mean. It might be about something completely different, in our related to our career, where I'm very focused and I'm really good at this, but actually I don't know anything about this other thing. And so we want to expand that. And so it's that ongoing expansion of our knowledge to become better individuals, but also better leaders. The second thing I think, and brother kind of referred to this as well, is recognizing that our life is a test. And if we look at the example of the prophet, there was always a test. I think that it's important to know that within my coaching, one of the things that I remember hearing was they said that there's a devil at every level, and whatever. If we look at the knowledge that I was talking about, as we increase, Shaitan is going to be there. He's going to be challenging us on every single thing. We get knowledge and we think, oh, I'm so good. Look at my knowledge. What is that? It's the Shaitan coming in and telling us things. So it's realizing that there is a test. All the time there's going to be a test for us, and we need to be able to be aware that it's a test and to rise above that as well. And also just to look at the life of the prophet and realize that, it's probably so obvious, but I had an awakening recently where I realized that the prophet was a minority in his country at the time. He had people who didn't like him because he was Muslim. It's similar to what a lot of us are going through in non-Muslim countries these days. But even when I talk to people from Muslim countries, this is very sad to me, but some people are, if they're practicing their religion, people are saying, why are you so religious? Why are you doing this? Even in Muslim countries, this is a challenge that people are getting. And so being a person who is really practicing your religion and firm to that, even in a Muslim country, some people are feeling like minorities if they want to wear hijab, if they want to, outwardly demonstrate their religion. It's difficult. So it's not just in non-Muslim countries, it's actually, throughout the world. And the third thing is to be able to be in a position where you feel that you can share your religion, even if that's as being that you're actually teaching, if you have that capability and that will to do so, but also as an example. I remember one of the a moment that was amazing to me. So I joined this particular organization, and there was, I was the only Muslim person that I knew who was working there. And people, one of the things I found really interesting, because we're so absorbed in our own lives, but a lot of people don't have exposure to Muslim people. In Australia, it's only like 2 or 3% of the population is Muslim. And so if you go certainly outside of the main centres, people have never come into contact with a Muslim. All they know is what they read on the news or whatever. And so I remember someone having a conversation with me. This person had always been very nice and sociable and whatever, but he said to me, when you joined, I was a little bit afraid of you because I'd never met a Muslim person before. He said, but recently I was having a conversation with some people at my house, and they were talking about how bad Islam was. And I said to them, don't you say that, because you don't know anything about Islam. And there's this lady at work, and she is the kindest and and had some very positive things to say about me. And I never knew, just in going about my day every day and acting in the behaviors which are true to our religion, that I was having an influence on this person. But we all are. We all are having an influence on somebody else without realizing that we are. So that leadership, it's not even necessarily a purposeful decision to lead, But again, if we come back to showing that character and making a difference and having an influence, which is a lot of what leadership is, I think that's really important. So again, it's getting the knowledge, it's realizing that there's always a test, and then it's just continually putting into place and demonstrating the right behaviors.
MashaAllah. So it's come down to continuously again equipping your knowledge, really. So more knowledge you have, then you can interact better, you can explain Islam better to a person maybe who doesn't understand Islam. Like, for instance, you just explained that this gentleman, he wasn't aware of Muslims where you worked. So yeah, I think a lot of non-Muslims in Western countries, they have a really wrong concept of Islam. I think it's not their fault. I think that's how the media has portrayed Islam. So I think it's all come down to knowledge. They need to do their own research, read upon Islam, and it's an amazing religion, mashallah. So yes, so I'm gonna go to my next question. So
before Sister Navira, before you get into that, I just want to share my thoughts around this. We talk a lot about media's portraying Islam in a negative way, and that is not wrong. However, I also see on a ground level, on a day-to-day level, there's human psychology involved, right? People have their own biases. So one of the great examples is in Islam, we have certain values, right? So in a way, you can call this as a value clash, right? So Islam's got a certain value, and those values are expressed in their own way. Sometimes is mixed with culture. So, for instance, humility, or humbleness is a great virtue in Islam. And there's a hadith that says, if you give with one hand, the other hand shouldn't know, and things like that, right? If you go and express that value in a workplace, in the way that you've been brought up, don't talk about what you achieve. Don't show off, because you have to be humble and you have to have that humility. You could be perceived wrongly, right? You could be perceived wrongly by other people who are more expressive and assertive, and they could perceive you as you're not confident, you're not assertive, and that translates into you not being a good model of the season of leadership circle. So I have that lived experience that I wasn't a leadership material. And I was like, what the heck that means? And then what it translated to is that I wasn't speaking up enough, and I wasn't assertive enough, right? So I'm using this example because it's pertinent to like development and very practical. But if you kind of abstract it out, there is a value clash, and how values are expressed, right? So yes, the media is painting like different ways and things like that, but individually we also need to understand not only our own value, but also how other people perceive that those expression of values, right? Because if you really look at it, Australians are humble as well, but the way they express that humbleness is different to how you actually would express in back in my homeland, like Burma, like that's a Southeast Asian country. It's different. You have to understand those nuances, differences, and I think we can take ownership of that as well. Yes, media is driving an agenda, but we can also take ownership and go back to what Sister Nicole is saying. Learn something about other culture, right? In the beginning of my days in Australia, I was just focusing all on myself, and I was like, okay, I have to learn English, I have to do this and that. But at one stage, I realized that's not enough. You also have to understand, the Australian culture. You're here, you have to understand that, and you have to understand how they're going to perceive you and how you be able to express your own value in the way that is right for them, the way that they're going to understand in the right way. So I thought, yes, media sometimes we kind of leave it to the media altogether, and that's all their fault. But I think we can also take responsibility, personally as well, and that's a personal leadership. right?
Yeah,
So
I agree.
And I will add a little point there as well. I would say us as Muslims, I think we're being able to portray ourselves better because, to be honest, I think we're not that well equipped. We can't talk about if we don't know much about our religion ourselves. How are we going to convince someone else? So us being Muslims, we don't know much about our religion these days. I think people just not have capacity. I wouldn't say capacity, but I think they don't have that. They just don't want to learn. I feel. I mean, I don't know what do you feel about that. I think that's why I feel.
I'm not sure. I sometimes feel that we started off at the beginning with Brother Osman saying how Islam is a very comprehensive religion that touches on all aspects of our lives, and this is, you know, the beauty of Islam to me. But I feel like sometimes we reduce Islam in many ways to being about prayer and about fasting and about, and we don't outwardly portray that it's about all of these other things. And it's these other things, that the fact that that it is such a comprehensive religion. And I think there is a lot of knowledge on some of the foundational things, but in terms of the broadness of the religion and exactly, you know, I also at the moment I work in Islamic banking, and I'm working on bringing the first Australian, the fully licensed Australian bank, Islamic bank. And as we go through, and there's a few non-Muslims working for my organization as well. In fact, our CEO is a non-Muslim, and I met with him the other day. And as they're learning about, you know, I've met people through this banking process who converted to Islam through Islamic finance. They learned about the fairness, they learned about the structures of all of this, and said, you know, wow, this religion, like if it's teaching this through finance, what does it teach the rest of the things? But we don't necessarily know, I think, as a group, all of these other things. That's one tiny example when he looked at the structures of how things are and the fact that it's, you know, fair and equitable, and it's a win-win, not a win-lose, and all of this. And he converted to Islam because of this reason. But I agree that we don't look necessarily holistically at the religion. So
can I quickly add on to that as well, Sister Nicole? That's so beautiful. You know, Islam's been reduced for many reasons, but also again, you know, our own doing in many ways.
yes,
Sometimes we pick
exactly.
and choose. Yeah, exactly right. So sometimes we pick and choose. Like another the value clash that I always come across is around you know, the virtue of sabr, like patience. And people say like, oh, you got to be patient, you know, that's how we brought up. But sometimes they translate that into silent suffering. Right?
Yes.
You just sit back and just take it all, like, you know, take it, you know, don't do anything back. But if you're like, the reason I'm saying it is that in the Quran, as in Surah Al-Aswar, like, you know, it's what was on biswab, what was on bilhaq, what was on biswab. Like they goes together, you know. You also have to uphold the truth, not just having, you know, staying silence about, you know, what is not right. Sometimes, you know, when we take just one part of what is being told us, you could do the wrong thing, right? Even though you think it's the right thing, which is that, yeah, you know, have sabr, have patience. But no, there is the other part as well, which is that when you see things are not right, then you have to counsel others and yourself as well, right? So you have to say it out. You have to talk through that. So I think it's beautiful, like, you know, and go back to what you were saying, Sister Nicole, like knowledge in this case is the key.
Okay, so what what is the importance, what are the principles of leadership in Islam? What are the basic leadership principle? So, sister, would you like to go first?
So the basic principles of leadership, I think we've touched on them. For me, I think that it's it's leading by example. It does start with that knowledge. It starts with learning the things so that we can internalize them ourselves, so that we can be firm in them, so that when we're challenged, which we will always be, and our religion tells us we will always be tested. Talked before about a devil at every level, so that's, we will always be tested. And if we're not firm in our knowledge, that will cause us to go backwards, both in our self-leadership but also in our confidence as to how we lead others. And again, then just to be that example. And people tell me that's a really hard thing to say. It's like, why should we have to be an example? That's a lot of pressure to put on people, that you have to actually be an example. But I think that that's just how it is with everything. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, you have to have that thing, the values and the knowledge, and have that inside you, and then you have to be that example by showing people, and also by where you have that capability to be able to teach people as well. Both, in terms of very specific religious things, but also, as I talked about, the gentleman who said to me, he hadn't known a Muslim before, and then because he saw me, he then had a more positive view of Islam that he put more broadly onto other Muslims, but it was just because of his experience, which was a very small experience. It actually wasn't very involved with him. But so I think that those are really important as to just how we present ourselves, and the confidence and authority that we are able to give to others. I just think that it sounds so simple. It's actually not so simple. It's quite difficult, and it's an ongoing journey. It's not like I get some knowledge, so I read my book. Okay, I've read my book now. I've got the knowledge. Okay, it's internal. Now I can show it. No, it's ongoing. It's continuous. It's realizing your weaknesses or and also your strengths, and being able to continually show that and develop it. It's simple but not easy.
Very well said. So what would you say about this, brother?
There's so many principles that we can take out from both Quran and Sunnah about leadership. I'll say a few things. One is, first and foremost, we all know we are the servant of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam exemplified as well. And there's a good article about that. It's written by one of my teachers from the university that I'm studying with. And he quoted Said Nursi, that the essence of leadership in Islam is servanthood, right? And there's a hadith also that says the master of people is the one who served them. And that is, crucial to the Islamic leadership principle. Like, as a leader in Islam, we are the one who serve our tribe. That's so fundamental. So I want to first of all sort of mention that you got to have that attitude of serving others if you want to be a true leader in Islam. So the second thing is, I study leadership a lot, and there's one particular framework that I really like, a modern framework called transformational leadership, right? And that's been used quite heavily in the leadership development circle. And it's got 4 components. And I think when we look at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam life, he's exemplified all those 4 components, right? And I think we can just go on and on about these 4 things, but I'll quickly touch on them. The first thing is what Sister Nicole already said. You got to lead by example. And in the fancy way of saying in that framework is idealized influence. Right? So you got to be the role model for your tribe. And the second thing is that you have to have that influence and the ability to influence and motivate other people, right? And how many examples can we draw out from Prophet Sirah about how Prophet motivated and inspired his followers, right? And the third component is intellectual stimulation, where you actually challenge the status quo. All right, and there's so many great examples again in Prophet's life. One of the great examples that I always use is the essence of brotherhood, right? And nowhere in the history that has been so institutionalized in a tribe or a community or a society of this essence of brotherhood, right? You and me are now brother and sister through Islam, right? You can't have that anywhere else. But now people are realizing, that kind of thing is so essential for an organization, association, community to thrive and flourish, right? And the leader needs to facilitate that intellectual stimulation so that they come up with something new and become better. And the last thing is also really important as part of the framework, and we can also see a lot of example in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam life. You can see Prophet, answering questions to each individual who come and ask him, ask him about Islam or even social life. If you think of it these days, how many of us can go to our senior leaders, let alone CEO or whatnot, and ask questions? They probably have during COVID like this, webinar where you can actually type your question in and they would try and pick one answer out of many. But Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually entertained each and every individual who wanted to ask him question about Islam or anything else, right? That is called individualized consideration. You have to, like when you lead people, you have to actually care each and every one of your follower, right? So to sum up, those four components is a really important leadership principle as part of this modern framework. But we've already seen that in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam many hundred years ago. So subhanallah, I hope I done the justice about the greatness and the beautiful example of Prophet. But given the time frame, I think I'll stop here.
So, what does the Quran says about leadership? Are there any, for people who are probably new to Islam or probably who are non-Muslim, for their reference, do you think there are anything which have been said in Quran regarding leadership? So, sister, would you like to go first?
So, yes, we talked before about how the Quran is obviously all-encompassing and talks about everything. I mean, one of the quotes that I've got is, the Quran talks about help each other to piety and God-fearing, and do not help each other to sin and enmity. And I think this also comes back to what brother was saying now about it's about us being in like a one ummah. We're brothers and sisters, that we should be helping each other, and we should be helping each other to the right path. There's also talks about a lot about the importance of knowledge, and I think that all of this together, the Quran is telling us constantly that we need to, be one ummah, that we need to help out, seek knowledge, that we need to help our brothers and sisters, and to help them in the right way and towards the right things, not towards the wrong things. So I think, yes, the Quran is consistently telling us that we need to be the best that we can, that we need to be leaders, that we need to help each other out. It's a whole, yeah, definitely.
Would you like to answer this, brother?
Yes. Am I muted? No. I think that there are many verses in the Quran that talks about leadership, and we to start with, we know that Allah actually put human being on earth as Khalifa, to look after the whole entire creation, with the representative of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And secondly, in a few other verses, Allah actually talks about making us as leader very explicitly as well. So that's also a reference point. And we've been talking about the beautiful and great example of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we all know that Prophet is the walking Quran. The Quran is, exemplified by the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we can look at his seerah and understand about leadership, which we did discuss, a lot in this call as well. And I think we coming to an end of this, and I think it's probably very befitting to talk about another beautiful dua and ayat in the Quran, as you asked the question about what's Quran says about leadership. And this is one of my favorite dua as well. In Surah Al, I think it's Surah 20. I have to double check on this. But in any case, I think in Surah Al Furqan, where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala say, yes, والذين, I'm going to read that out. I've got that on the screen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Right, it's a beautiful dua. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to make each other, have that coolness of eyes. And the last part of it is للمتقين إماما. The translation would go that make a good example of next generation, but some would translate it as make us as a leader for the righteousness, right? So subhanallah, like Allah said, be a leader of your own, be a leader for your next generation, or even make the next generation leader of the next generation. That's what we talk about in this call as well. Right, we got to be example of Islam in our own ways, so that we can be the example for others, and that's the leadership, right? So I think that's a very befitting dua to end with. So I really make dua that we be the coolness of each other's eyes, and that we become a leader in our own way, and that all our next generation will also become the leaders that exemplify the beautiful religion of Islam, and the follower of the greatest human kind on this earth, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen.
Just three key things to ask you. What makes a good leader? So you can go, brother, and give me three bullet points. What would you say? What makes a good leader? I know we talked about all the qualities, but like in a date in your work life, I would say, what makes a good leader?
I think it just come down to summarizing everything that we said, right? I think we touched on a lot about that. If I really have to answer three things, probably just say two things: knowledge and action. I think knowing is not enough. Doing has to be there. So knowledge and action. But I think one thing would precede that. Just to make it three, one thing's going to precede is what Sister Nicole beautifully said. It's awareness. Awareness is going to precede knowledge. Without the right level of awareness, you're not going to get the right knowledge. And awareness, knowledge, and then you got to do it. So inshallah, all the listener, all the audience, and including ourselves, remind ourselves first and foremost is don't just stop talking about leadership. Go and do something to become the example of Islam, and lead your own little tribe. Lead yourself first, and lead your own little tribe, inshallah.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. Very well said, brother. What about yourself, sister? If you give me just quick 3 pointers.
So I would agree with brother. I would say that it is awareness of where you are now. It's of growing the knowledge, and I would also just add that it's the intention of what we have as well. Do we want to be leaders because we want to be seen as a great leader, or do we want to be leaders because we actually want to help the people that we're leading, both Muslim and non-Muslim, to get to a higher level, but also what is our ultimate intention? Because for me, the ultimate intention of being a leader in the workplace and in the home and whatever is because when I inshallah get to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one day and to be judged, that I know that my intention has been for Islam and to take that to the next level, not just to make myself a leader. So I think that intention for me is overarching of everything for the personal development and leadership, is that doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for all the reasons that He's given us throughout the Quran and that we've learnt also through the Sunnah.
Can I quickly say that, sister, you caught me on that. Intention is. Sorry, sister, I might be over talking you. I just gonna sort of say what Sister Nicole said about intention, and one of the comment here from Sheikh Umar, it's that now Muslims are only two words to say Islam, Muslims, and all things are done for publicly. I think it goes in line with what you're saying, Sister Nicole. We've got to purify our intention, and therefore, that hadith about actions about intention is one of my favorite hadith as well.
Yes.
Without intention, nothing's going to be meaningful from Islamic perspective. So thank you for adding that, Sister Nicole.
Thank you. If I may add, I think I think it's also to do with mission. If you have that, mindset that everything you of Allah and you're first and foremost, you're like submitting your will to Allah subhanahu. I think that works for me. I feel like if you on that path, I think then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is definitely make you a good person, inshallah ta'ala. So do you think having all these skills in this day and age, do you think we can remain within the boundaries of Islam? Having all these traits, do you think will remain in the boundaries of Islam in today's modern society?
I might go first and then you can finish up, brother, if that's okay. I think it's critical. I think it's absolutely critical. I think as we've talked, the Quran is like a guide for everything, every single part of our lives. And if we look and we read and we learn and we implement those things, we will be rising ourselves up, rising our community up totally within the boundaries of Islam. There's so much fitna these days, and there's so much pressure and so many people saying, oh, Islam is this and Islam is that. That's just noise. Let's go back to the source. Let's understand through our reading, and also there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that we can learn from. Let's learn from those people and show through Islam, not despite Islam, but actually through Islam, through reading, through understanding, through implementing what we have been given, what was came down and put into the Quran in terms of an actual book 1400 years ago. It's so relevant to us today, and so absolutely. And I think that it's actually I feel like part of the reason why Islam isn't as strong as it was is not because we're looking to the book, it's because we're not. And if we come back to it and look at the things that are in there, I mean, look at what was achieved by our Prophet, peace be upon him. Amazing things through, as brother said, being the walking Quran, implementing those things. So is it possible? I think it's absolutely essential.
Absolutely. Brother, would you like to add something to this?
Yes, thank you. So true. There's so many things that we can talk about this. This is actually one of the areas that I'm studying and practicing as well to coach others to be able to balance between their religion and public life, if you like, because as Sister Nicole said, she only saw one woman with hijab in leadership circle, and that was herself. So we want to change the status quo as well, and that's what I'm studying, and how migrant Muslim could become senior leaders in this secular Western world. That's what I'm looking at and researching and exploring and discussing as well. So that goes to the core of your questions. Can we practice Islam in this day and age where we've got a lot of fitna? Can we? Can we not? probably irrelevant question. Like Sister Nicole said, it is essential that we practice Islam. That's the only antidote to these fitna that we have, right? And there's a beautiful saying, I think it's from Nursi as well. I might be entirely wrong. The river is only strong because of the bank, right? If you don't have these principle values and boundaries, you're not going to be as strong as you can be. And we talked about personal development. That's how we started, and leadership. And guess what? Leadership, one of the traits of leadership is to be able to uphold the values and principles that you believe in and implement it in the right way, and also counsel other with patience, right? So it is essential, like whether we can or we can't is actually irrelevant. It is essential that we have to do this. It is essential that we teach the next generation to do this. It is essential that the next generation will teach the next generation to do this. And we have all the knowledge and the framework, the tools, like in coaching terms, right? The framework, the tools, they all been given to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfected this religion. He declared that in Quran. We all know this. So we have the knowledge, the framework, the tool, everything in our hands. So I don't think it's a question that we should be answering. Can we or can we not? I think we must, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We must. Absolutely. So a little bit different to this next question would be, how does one gain their confidence if they're gone through a bad experience in life? For example, it could just be their work life, or it could just be their personal life. Maybe they've gone through a trauma or any hardship in their life. How do you think they can regain their confidence? If your brother first.
We're talking about how do we gain confidence?
Yes.
I think, yes. Again, it is a big topic. I don't know if we can touch on this in how much time we left, Sister Navira.
Yes. We don't have any time. We're absolutely time. We're fine with the time, unless you have somewhere else.
Yeah, I just about to say that. Yeah, might have to step out soon.
You need to go off soon. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, but I can answer that question because that's another area that I looked at in terms of the coaching frameworks that I use to help people become leader, particularly people with migrant background. I use the acronym 3Cs because the three components that I work on with my clients, they are confidence, communication, and connections. And I believe if you can expand those circle, confidence circle, communication circle, and connection circle, then it will accelerate your leadership journey, right? So confidence is one of the big things that I sort of research, discuss, and teach as well. But confidence is actually not something that you you acquire or gain. It is more of an outcome of a process, if that means. So a lot of the time, people think that we got to have confidence to do something. We got to have confidence to say something. We have to confidence to even think about something, but that's the wrong way around. From my experience and from my research, you have to do things, you have to say things, and you have to believe in things. And as a result, you actually have, if you do the right thing, if you believe in the right thing, and if you say the right thing, then the confidence will come. So confidence is more of the result or the outcome of a process.
Sure. I think we'll, if you can answer quickly, sister, then we can, as I understand brother needs to go off. So inshallah, we'll be having more sessions like this in future, inshallah. So I think viewers are enjoying our by the comments that I've been reading. Thank you so much, everyone, for writing such amazing comments in the section. But inshallah, we'll be holding more of these sessions, inshallah, going forward. So if you could wrap this up, sister, then inshallah, we're all good to go.
Sure. And mashallah, I'm just having a bit of a giggle because I also have a 3C framework, Brother Osman. So mine's slightly different. So I have first I have clarity.
You be faster than me to copyright it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's slightly different. Excuse me. I have clarity, connection, and commitment. And my first thing with clarity is we talked about before about being aware of where you are now. So it's understanding exactly where you are now, in terms of, and this is in any, it might be that you're in a really good place but you want to get better, or it might be you're in a really bad place and you just need to get out of that hole. So whichever, it still applies. Being aware of where you are but also where you want to go to, and being really, really absolutely clear on that. The next bit that I talk about is connection, and that's actually connection to your to your confidence. Like, what are your limiting beliefs that you have over where you currently are and where you can go? It's about having a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a lot of that I focus on is actually through gratitude. I believe what you focus on grows. So if you focus on, and again, if you're in a really bad place in a dark hole, it might just be that you grateful that you wake up every day. It might be that you're grateful that you have food, or that the sun is shining, or as you go through and you become more confident, it might be grateful that you're in a great relationship, or it might be grateful that you're in a great position, or whatever. So it's about that gratitude. And the last bit is about the courage to actually be yourself. So we talked before about sometimes people might have a fear of judgment, or if I act in this way, or if I wear hijab or whatever, how will I be treated? But it's about bringing all of those things back to your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third bit is about the commitment, and that's where you're saying, okay, now I know who I am, I know what is the connection that I have, and now what am I going to actually do? What is the action that I'm going to take? What are the goals that I'm setting to put those in place to get what I need to? And part of that also is creating a community, because I feel that if we try and do things alone, either in any part of our life, but including in religion, like if I'm just sitting here in my house wearing hijab, not interacting with any other Muslims and trying to become better, it's going to be harder for me. But if I become part of a community who have the same goals, who have the same commitment, who want the same connection, it's a well-used metaphor, but when the tide rises, all the boats go up. So if we can get a group of people who are all committed to the same thing, we can rise ourselves as a community, both within your local area, but also globally. So yeah, I'm clarity, connection, and commitment, and I'm running to patent it after this, brother, so that you can't.
Inshallah, I think Allah have given us this opportunity to put our views across to the world. YouTube, and we're going live on YouTube and Facebook at this moment. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given us this opportunity to reach out to these people, inshallah. So, just before I finish the session, we have a comment from Naeem, and he's saying, I think there should be another session relating to relationship. So inshallah, we can we work on this. So if you guys are free, we can liaise regarding this. They might want us to speak next, inshallah, in our session if you guys are free. But as we're going to discuss this among us, inshallah. So I'm going to end the stream right in 1 second. But let me just take this opportunity to thank both of you, especially you, brother. This is my first time doing a podcast with you.
Sister Navira, can I be a bit cheeky and show something to Sister Nicole, and
Sure,
maybe to
yes.
you as well? I don't know if I can share my screen. Yeah, I can, I think. Oh, can I? Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Sister Nicole?
I think I'll add that to screen. Just 1 second.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Yes.
That's the model that I use, the framework that I use to coach on confidence. So there's a lot of overlaps, sister. So you better
yeah,
be
there
very,
is.
very quick to copyright this. Otherwise, you might be in trouble.
Either that, if we have to join forces and operate together.
Yeah, inshallah, maybe. Yeah, I do talk about, like, to me, sorry, Sister Navira, I'm Russian, so I didn't get a chance to clarify.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely
like
fine.
confidence, as Sister Nicole said, it's got to begin with clarity. Clarity is really important, and it ties to your intention and things like that. Inshallah, yeah, we can discuss that another time. It's an area that I'm very passionate about, and I can see Sister Nicole is very passionate about this as well, because in my the overarching framework of 3C, confidence come first, because a lot of migrant Muslims lose confidence after a while to go to the highest potential that they can achieve. So it is really important that we talk about it. Remove those self-limiting belief and whatnot, imposter syndrome. It is pervasive in not just Muslim, a lot of migrant community as well. So, inshallah. Sorry, I thought I'd be a bit cheeky and quick.
So, inshallah, that's fine. Well, mashallah, that could be our next topic too. Who knows? So let's work on this, inshallah. So let me take this opportunity to thank both of you for, I'm really humbled that you shared your time. I know you guys have to go and get on with your lives, and it is like 11:30 here in London, so it is way past my bedtime. So yeah. But yeah, once again,
thank you so much for the opportunity, sister. It's been a very enjoyable discussion.
All good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the
I
discussion,
hope,
and learned a lot from both of you. And really thank you, Sister Navira, for organizing this way past your bedtime. So inshallah, this time we Assalamualaikum Sheikh. It's 4:21, good Fajr time. So inshallah, make dua for us. So,
yes, but yeah, it's 4:21 in Pakistan right now. So, yeah, as I said, it's been a very learning experience for myself, and I hope it's been a learning experience for our viewers as well. If they have missed the session, they can always watch this session on my YouTube channel. And yeah, inshallah, I'll say goodbye to everyone now. And if you guys, if I will actually ask you guys to share your Facebook handles, and I could just, when I'm posting this video, then we can share your details if they want to get in touch with you directly. So I will put that in the link below, inshallah. Okay, take you guys leave, inshallah. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you, Sister Navira, again. Thank you, Sister Nicole, and thanks everyone who joined in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.